There are secrets buried in the shadows of nations, secrets so dangerous, so transformative, that their very mention has been erased from public record. Some lie dormant in hidden vaults, others are whispered in code among those who dare not speak aloud, but every once in a while, a fragment escapes, a clue, a name, a ghost that refuses to be forgotten. Project Dragonfly. For decades, the name has appeared in scattered reports, unverified cables, intercepted transmissions, fleeting testimonies of operatives who vanished soon after speaking. To most, it was nothing more than rumor. To some, it was myth. But to those within the highest echelons of American intelligence, it was something far more dangerous. As the 20th century drew to a close, the world shifted. The Cold War, once the defining struggle of East and West, collapsed in rubble and celebration. The United States emerged as the sole superpower, victorious in its ideological war against the Soviet Union. But history does not rest. Power abhors a vacuum, and while the West celebrated, another power was rising quietly in the East. China, a nation rebuilding, reforming, and reaching for a destiny it believed was long overdue. Its economy surged, its technology advanced, and its ambitions grew bolder by the year. For the United States, the Soviet threat was over, but a new rival was emerging, a rival with deeper secrecy, greater discipline, and a willingness to pursue science without restraint. In 1992, a small group of American intelligence analysts noticed something unusual. Deep within western China, construction was underway on a sprawling facility, larger than most research compounds, more secure than any ordinary military base. At first, it was dismissed as routine. China had dozens of such sites. But then came the oddities. Satellite flyovers showed unusual heat signatures, far more intense than ordinary laboratories. Convoys arrived at night under heavy escort. Civilian scientists disappeared from public life, only to reappear months later, their names attached to classified patents. And then, most unsettling of all, American satellites lost visual contact with the facility altogether, as if an invisible shield had fallen over it. The first reference to Dragonfly appeared not in American records, but in a Chinese military dispatch intercepted by chance. Buried within encrypted language, a single code name surfaced. Longyan, translated loosely as Dragonfly. The message described a transfer of sensitive biological material to a facility under military jurisdiction. The tone was urgent. The level of clearance extraordinary. At first, analysts debated whether Dragonfly was simply a designation for routine research. But as fragments accumulated, the truth seemed darker. Dragonfly was not a project, it was a program, a discovery, a secret so tightly held that even seasoned intelligence officers warned against digging too deeply. The CIA began deploying assets, businessmen, academics, contractors, anyone who could move freely within Chinese borders. Their task was not sabotage nor theft, but observation. What they found was chilling. The operative flips open a case, photographs of armed guards, research labs with thick blast doors, trucks transporting sealed containers. Dragonfly was no ordinary research initiative. The security was excessive, the funding limitless, and the secrecy absolute. Entire districts were cleared of residents, power grids rerouted, local maps redrawn. To the outside world, Dragonfly didn't exist, but within China's walls, it was growing. The facility most often linked to Dragonfly was located in a remote province, far from Beijing's watchful eyes. The region was barren, inhospitable, and easily controlled. Locals whispered of strange sounds at night, of convoys moving under cover of darkness, of scientists who never returned. Those who asked too many questions often vanished, swallowed by the silence of the state. They called it Dragonfly. They told us it was for the future of the nation. But no one was allowed to ask what that future looked like. We only knew it was not for the world to see. By the turn of the millennium, Dragonfly was no longer rumor. It was a growing concern within Washington. Reports indicated that Chinese advancements in genetics, artificial intelligence, and surveillance were accelerating at an unprecedented pace. And behind it all, the same words surfaced again and again: Dragonfly. If this is what we think it is, gentlemen, it's not just research. It's something bigger, something that could change warfare, society, humanity itself. And the worst part? We don't know if it's already operational. To the public, these were simply headlines. China rising in technology, expanding its reach in cyberspace, experimenting with new forms of biology. But to those inside the intelligence community, the puzzle pieces were assembling into a darker picture. Dragonfly was more than ambition. It was discovery. And whatever had been discovered inside that forbidden lab was worth guarding at any cost. One by one, the Americans sent to shadow Dragonfly began to disappear. Some were caught, arrested quietly, and deported. Others were never heard from again. Their reports ended mid-sentence, their transmissions cut short. Whatever Dragonfly was, China was willing to kill to protect it. Dragonfly, a word erased from official files, a project hidden in the most secretive nation on Earth. To this day, its true nature remains unknown. Was it science? Was it weaponry? Or was it something far beyond human understanding? One thing is certain: the shadows of secrecy are deep, and America's discovery inside China would change everything. When whispers become sightings, and sightings become evidence, the world begins to tremble. What America had uncovered in scattered fragments was no longer speculation. It was a trail leading deep into the heart of a forbidden research complex, a place where science, secrecy, and surveillance merged into something that defied comprehension. This was Dragonfly. By 2002, American operatives were embedded across China, not soldiers in uniform, but shadows moving within cities, ports, and remote provinces. Their mission: trace Dragonfly's every footprint, document every anomaly, and understand what lay beyond the gates of the forbidden lab. The initial reports were fragmented: deliveries of mysterious cargo at odd hours, shifts of scientists vanishing from universities, unexplained power surges in isolated regions. Every clue suggested that Dragonfly was active and that its work was accelerating. The facility itself was an engineering marvel of secrecy. Above ground, it appeared empty. Just another military base. Below, however, lay a labyrinth of tunnels, laboratories, and containment units. Satellite imagery could only hint at its true scale. Ground intelligence, however, revealed much more, and each discovery was more alarming than the last. American intelligence analysts described the compound as a city within a city, a fortress designed not only to protect research, but to hide it from the world's eyes. It was clear that Dragonfly was not just a project. It was a program with ambition and scope beyond anything previously imagined. What happened inside those walls remains largely unconfirmed, but operatives intercepted reports described experiments at the intersection of genetics, cybernetics, and artificial intelligence. Researchers were said to be manipulating biological organisms with precision and speed that defied conventional science. One report mentioned the use of bioengineered neural networks, a fusion of living tissue with computational frameworks. Another hinted at AI capable of learning and adapting faster than any human programmer could comprehend. Dragonfly was no longer merely a scientific pursuit. It was a frontier where the line between biology and machine, human and technology, began to blur. The first concrete discovery came in 2003. American operatives observed a transport entering the compound, its contents unlike anything recorded in global databases. Analysts later described the material as biologically active, possibly engineered for adaptive intelligence. The implications were staggering. This was not merely research. This was a controlled breakthrough, something that, if understood, could redefine the boundaries of life itself. The reaction in Washington was immediate. The Pentagon convened emergency briefings. The CIA launched expanded surveillance. And the question at the heart of every meeting was the same. How far had Dragonfly already progressed, and how much of this remained hidden from the world? Dragonfly's research reportedly included advanced genetic engineering capable of editing complex genomes with unprecedented precision, artificial intelligence systems that could self-learn from biological data, and surveillance technologies capable of predicting behavior with uncanny accuracy. Every discovery suggested a fusion of disciplines the world had never seen. The United States faced a dilemma: observe quietly and risk falling behind, or intervene and risk exposure. Human intelligence was just as critical as satellite imagery. Operatives reported observing scientists under intense pressure, isolated from the outside world, often working under secrecy protocols that rivaled those of the Manhattan Project. Some showed signs of stress, others appeared almost inhumanly focused. Whatever Dragonfly demanded of them, it required total commitment, total control. They weren't just working, they were transforming. Every day I saw them push limits we thought impossible. It was like watching evolution in fast forward. Every observation carried risk. A single misstep could lead to arrest or disappearance. Chinese counterintelligence monitored unknown patterns of behavior with precision. Operatives were forced to balance the acquisition of intelligence against the constant threat of exposure. And yet the lure of Dragonfly's secrets proved irresistible. The stakes were global, and the implications potentially catastrophic. As reports streamed back to Washington, analysts struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. Dragonfly was no ordinary program. It was a synthesis of science and strategy, a hidden force shaping the balance of global power. Every new detail amplified the urgency. If Dragonfly succeeded, the world as it was known could shift overnight. By 2005, the ethical dimensions of Dragonfly became impossible to ignore. American scientists and intelligence officers debated the ramifications. Was Dragonfly a breakthrough in human advancement, or a weapon capable of unprecedented control? Could the technology be contained, or had it already crossed a line from which there was no return? The dilemma was stark. Every step toward discovery brought the risk of moral compromise. Every revelation exposed a dangerous truth. Science without transparency can become the greatest threat of all. Analysis of Dragonfly's operations revealed a global reach. Collaborations with international scientists, proprietary technology pipelines, and hidden infrastructure hinted that the program's influence extended far beyond China. Every observation suggested coordination at a scale that could alter not just national security, but the trajectory of civilization itself. This is not just a lab, it's an engine for power, knowledge, and control. If we cannot understand it, we may be left behind forever. The first operational experiment witnessed by American eyes was unlike anything in the known scientific record. Observers described it as a controlled convergence of biology and artificial computation, a living system adapting in real time, processing information faster than any human mind could comprehend. The implications were staggering, and yet, for all the knowledge gained, Dragonfly remained shrouded in secrecy. Each revelation raised more questions than answers, and the deeper the operatives delved, the more dangerous their mission became. What America had discovered inside China was not just a program, it was a force that could not be ignored, a discovery that demanded understanding, containment, and, if necessary, intervention. Every discovery leaves a trail. Sometimes it's a breadcrumb, sometimes it's a firestorm. By the mid-2000s, Project Dragonfly had evolved from whispered rumor to a phenomenon hidden in plain sight within the classified files of the U.S. government. And the deeper officials delved, the more alarming the evidence became. Declassified documents provided the first public glimpse into Dragonfly's scope. Analysts described advanced research spanning genetics, artificial intelligence, and cybernetic systems. Some documents hinted at applications that could alter the fundamental rules of biology. Others suggested surveillance technologies capable of predicting and influencing human behavior. The files were fragmented, coded, and often contradictory. Every recovered report raised more questions than it answered. Yet, when pieced together, a chilling picture emerged. Dragonfly was not simply research, it was a blueprint for a new kind of power. Experts were brought in to interpret what the documents revealed. Geneticists were startled by references to engineered neural organisms. AI researchers debated the plausibility of adaptive algorithms integrated with living cells, and ethicists warned that the very nature of Dragonfly raised questions humanity was not ready to confront. The consensus was unnerving. Dragonfly was operating at the intersection of human ambition and untested science. Its implications, military, social, and moral, were vast and largely unknown. As the classified files became clearer, internal conflict erupted. What was the role of the United States? Could Dragonfly's secrets be contained, studied, or replicated safely? Or did mere exposure risk global instability? If we act, we risk confrontation. If we do nothing, we fall behind. And if Dragonfly succeeds, it may redefine what it means to be human. Every choice carried weight. Every decision had consequences. The government was not just contending with a foreign program, it was grappling with the ethical boundaries of science, the limits of secrecy, and the fragile balance of power. Dragonfly was not an isolated endeavor. Documents hinted at collaboration with international scientists, covert technology transfers, and a network of influence that spanned continents. The United States was forced to consider not only China's ambitions, but the cascading effects on the entire world. The classified files revealed a sobering reality. Dragonfly was a force multiplier. Any nation or entity that controlled its discoveries could gain unprecedented advantages in technology, intelligence, and influence. The stakes had never been higher. The moral questions were unavoidable. Could humanity responsibly wield the tools Dragonfly had developed? Was it ethical to pursue knowledge that could fundamentally alter life itself? And if such knowledge existed in secret, hidden from the public, what obligation did governments have to ensure it was not misused? The files suggested experiments that blurred the lines between living beings and machines, between natural evolution and artificial design. To many experts, Dragonfly was not merely a project, it was a warning. The classified files also predicted consequences. If Dragonfly's technologies were weaponized or leaked, the world could face a new kind of conflict, one where intelligence, biology, and artificial systems merged in ways never before imagined. The lines between war, espionage, and science would blur, and humanity itself could become a variable in a system it barely understood. The United States realized that Dragonfly was not just a discovery. It was a paradigm shift, a force quietly reshaping global dynamics while remaining hidden from public scrutiny. Containment became the priority. Intelligence agencies worked to monitor Dragonfly without provoking exposure. Diplomacy, cyber surveillance, and covert operations were employed to understand and limit the program's reach. But the more officials learned, the more they realized that Dragonfly's full scope was likely beyond any single government's control. Every measure of containment was met with new discoveries, each more complex than the last. Dragonfly was evolving, adapting, and expanding faster than analysts could predict. By 2007, the implications of Dragonfly were felt globally. Nations began adjusting strategies, intelligence budgets, and defense priorities. Even without public knowledge, Dragonfly's influence was shaping policy, research, and geopolitics. The world was unknowingly responding to a discovery it could neither see nor comprehend. And yet, the most troubling questions remained unanswered. How far had Dragonfly progressed? What had it truly achieved? And what was the ultimate goal of a program that defied the boundaries of human understanding? Amid the technology and secrecy, the human element could not be ignored. Scientists, operatives, and policymakers were all caught in a web of fear, ambition, and responsibility. Each decision, each observation Each discovery carried ethical weight that could not be measured simply in data or intelligence. Dragonfly was as much a story of human ambition as it was of science. In the end, the files revealed not just what Dragonfly had accomplished, but what humanity faced if such knowledge was unleashed without oversight. Power without accountability, knowledge without ethics. It was a combination the world had never experienced. Dragonfly offered a glimpse behind the curtain of secrecy. They revealed a program vast, complex, and morally ambiguous. They challenged assumptions about science, ethics, and global power. And they left one unavoidable question. If Dragonfly could be discovered in fragments, how much more remained hidden? How much more could the world unknowingly be walking into? Every discovery carries consequences. Some can be managed, some cannot. For Project Dragonfly, what was unearthed in China sent ripples through the halls of power in the United States. Intelligence agencies, military officials, and policymakers were suddenly confronted with a reality that defied precedent. A discovery so sensitive, it demanded immediate control, strict secrecy, and above all, caution. The first reports reached Washington in the early 2000s. Satellite images, intercepted communications, and field reports painted a picture of a program beyond comprehension. Meetings were convened at the highest levels of government. Every word was weighed carefully. Every decision could have profound consequences. Gentlemen, Dragonfly isn't just a threat. It's a paradigm shift. Our response must be calculated, precise, and invisible. The challenge was clear: contain the knowledge, assess its implications, and prevent public exposure. The stakes were not merely political. They were existential. Intelligence agencies initiated a multi-layered approach. Satellite monitoring was intensified, field operatives embedded deeper into Chinese urban centers, and cyber surveillance was expanded. Yet every move had to remain undetected. Exposure would not only risk diplomatic crises, but potentially spark a confrontation neither nation could afford. Even with extraordinary measures, information leaked in fragments, creating unease and speculation. Controlling Dragonfly meant controlling not just the program itself, but the narrative surrounding it. The discovery had far-reaching political consequences. Policymakers grappled with questions of national security, international diplomacy, and ethical responsibility. Should China be publicly confronted? Should the U.S. pursue its own similar research in secret? And most troubling, how much could the public safely know? If this goes public, the backlash could be catastrophic. The narrative must remain classified. Thus began the cover-up. Dragonfly was relegated to the highest levels of classification, erased from public records, and shielded from oversight. Only a handful of officials held the full picture, and each was sworn to secrecy under penalty of national law. Despite the magnitude of Dragonfly, the media remained largely silent. Journalists occasionally spotted anomalies, strange research grants, unexplained disappearances of scientists, but official channels offered no explanation. The world outside Washington, Beijing, and Langley remained unaware of the most classified discovery of the century. Speculation flourished online and in whispers among the scientific community. Yet every attempt to investigate was met with dead ends, denials, and in some cases, subtle intimidation. Dragonfly had become a ghost, seen by few, understood by even fewer, and denied by all internally. The Pentagon assessed potential military applications of Dragonfly. Adaptive AI systems, engineered biological organisms, and advanced surveillance technology could reshape warfare. The U.S. military considered leveraging these discoveries, but only within the strictest confines of secrecy. Any public exposure could provoke a global arms race unlike any seen before. The balance between knowledge and control became the central focus. To act without caution could spark instability. To hesitate could result in being left behind. Dragonfly was no longer merely a discovery. It was a strategic imperative. The cover-up also raised profound ethical questions. Was it right to conceal such transformative research from the world? Should humanity be shielded from knowledge it might not be ready to wield? And if the discoveries of Dragonfly were weaponized, who would bear the responsibility? Every decision carried moral weight. Every classified file held potential consequences that could ripple through generations. Dragonfly challenged not only power structures, but the ethical limits of governance itself. Despite the precautions, the risk of exposure remained real. Foreign intelligence agencies were active, cyber breaches possible, and leaks within the system always a threat. Dragonfly was a high-wire operation. One misstep could reveal secrets capable of destabilizing nations. Every day, those responsible for Dragonfly balanced on the edge between secrecy and catastrophe. The program's power was immense, but so too was the danger it represented if it were ever fully revealed. The cover-up endured. Dragonfly became a phantom in the corridors of power, a discovery hidden from the public eye, carefully managed to prevent panic, speculation, or misuse. Its legacy, however, was already imprinted on those who knew. Careers, research, and policies were shaped by knowledge that the world could not see. And yet, as with all secrets, the question remained: how long could it stay buried? How long could the truth of Dragonfly be contained before the weight of discovery demanded its revelation? Project Dragonfly had been discovered, contained, and hidden. The fallout rippled quietly across governments and scientific communities. The cover-up succeeded, for now. But secrets of this magnitude never remain in the shadows forever. The question lingers: when the world finally sees Dragonfly, will humanity be ready? Secrets have a way of shaping the world, whether the public sees them or not. Dragonfly, once hidden in shadows and classified files, represents not only the pinnacle of human ingenuity, but the ultimate test of global responsibility. In Act 5, we explore what could happen if these discoveries were exposed and the implications that stretch far beyond borders, governments, or individual nations. Imagine a world where Dragonfly's secrets were revealed. Public consciousness would awaken to technologies that merge biology and artificial intelligence. Global leaders would be forced to confront not only China and the United States, but the reality that science has advanced beyond conventional ethical and legal frameworks. Revelations of this magnitude would spark a wave of speculation, fear, and fascination. Some would see opportunity, others catastrophic risk. Dragonfly as a concept and a reality would no longer be contained by secrecy. The strategic implications are profound. Adaptive AI, genetically engineered organisms, and predictive surveillance systems could redefine the nature of warfare. Nations might race to replicate or counteract the discoveries, escalating tensions across borders. The balance of power would shift almost overnight, and conventional defenses might prove inadequate. Intelligence agencies would struggle to maintain control. Every move would be scrutinized, every decision magnified. Dragonfly's discoveries could become a new arms race, one fought not with conventional weapons, but with life, information, and technology. The moral questions are unavoidable. How far should humanity go when tampering with the building blocks of life? Should advanced AI integrated with biological systems be controlled, or is it inherently dangerous? And if knowledge like Dragonfly's exists, who has the authority to regulate it? Dragonfly challenges the very notion of ethical science. Its revelations would force societies to reconsider the limits of human experimentation, privacy, and global responsibility. International politics would face unprecedented pressures. Treaties, alliances, and security protocols would be re-examined. Nations would be forced to negotiate in a world where knowledge itself is a weapon and secrecy is a tool of survival. Dragonfly's existence could redefine diplomacy, and mistrust between nations could escalate rapidly. Transparency, containment, and accountability would become the new battleground. And every nation would grapple with the uncomfortable truth: Dragonfly is no longer a possibility. It is reality, and reality waits for no one. Not all consequences are dire. Dragonfly could also represent unprecedented opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs in medicine, environmental management, and technology could emerge if harnessed responsibly. Humanity could advance in ways previously unimaginable, provided that caution, ethics, and oversight guide every step. But the risk remains. Without oversight, even the most promising discoveries could become instruments of control, manipulation, or destruction. Even with revelations, Dragonfly retains its mysteries. What experiments remain undiscovered? What technologies have already advanced beyond human comprehension? And most importantly, what intentions guide those who control it? The classified files, field reports, and testimonies hint at discoveries we may never fully understand. Dragonfly's legacy is one of unanswered questions, a reminder that some secrets, once unearthed, may never be fully explained. At its core, Dragonfly is not just about technology or secrecy. It is about human ambition, curiosity, and fear. The people who discovered, observed, and managed it bear the weight of knowledge few others will ever hold. Their decisions will shape not only the program itself, but the future of humanity. The story of Dragonfly is a testament to what happens when discovery and secrecy collide. A secret powerful enough to change the world, yet fragile enough to remain hidden. The legacy of Dragonfly is not just what was discovered, but how humanity chooses to respond. Dragonfly remains one of the most classified discoveries in modern history. Its revelations, consequences, and mysteries will ripple through time, shaping science, ethics, and global power. The world may never fully understand what lies behind the shadows, but one truth is clear: some secrets are too powerful to remain hidden forever. Project Dragonfly is more than a story of discovery. It is a tale of secrecy, ambition, and the unknown. What was found deep within China's hidden laboratories challenged the very limits of science, ethics, and human imagination. And yet, for all the revelations, much remains unseen, unheard, and undiscovered. Some secrets are kept to protect, some are kept to control, and some are kept simply because the world may not yet be ready to confront them. Dragonfly sits at the intersection of these truths, an enigma powerful enough to reshape nations, societies, and perhaps even humanity itself. As we close this chapter, one question remains: what else lies hidden beyond the shadows? What discoveries await those who dare to look, and what consequences will follow when the world finally uncovers the truth? If you want more deep dives into classified discoveries, mysteries, and untold stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Stay updated and uncover the secrets with us. Turn on notifications to never miss an episode. The story of Dragonfly is not over. The world has only glimpsed its shadows.